The Switch 2 is officially over a year old now, and within that year, this console has provided a lot of good and a lot of bad. Wow, what a novel concept. But today, I'll be looking at the games themselves here and highlighting what I think their best and worst qualities are. 3 quick things before we start here. 1, I'm restricting myself from picking pricing, game key cards, or anything outside of the game itself as the worst thing about it. Otherwise, this video would be really repetitive and boring. 2, despite my best efforts, there are plenty of games I either haven't played enough of, or only played on Switch 1. So for those, I asked my friends what they think the best and worst thing about them is, and I'll say all their answers in a lightning round. And 3, I will go into spoilers for all of the games outside of the lightning round. So if you really want to avoid Jamboree TV spoilers, there's your warning. Sound good? Fantastic. I'm Drewski Rose, and these are the best and worst parts of every Switch 2 game that released in the first year.
I wonder what Goombas taste like.
The best part about Meetup in Bellabel Park is definitely the Koopaling fights. Mario Wonder did a lot right, but the bosses always stood out as the game's weakest link. Not to imply bosses have always been 2D Mario's strong suit, but at least the previous games didn't force YouTubers to make up boss fights.
Hey bro, who's your favorite Mario character?
Oh, you know it's Spike.
I do like that you can't chain multiple hits on them as easily, but 4 Junior fights and 1 Bowser fight is still a pitiful lineup. These Koopaling fights not only fix the lack of quantity, but they might be the highest quality bosses in any 2D Mario. The Wonder Flower lets these guys have such cool and unique battles. Roy easily has my favorite of these, but I unfortunately do need to call him out for stealing my friend's Mario Maker level. We will be sending the Drewski ninjas after you. Sue people how you want to be sued, Nintendo. However, the biggest surprise about these bosses is that there are harder versions of their fights in the challenge board, and they're actually really hard. I never thought I'd see people genuinely rage quit over a Mario boss. I'm glad more and more people are starting to appreciate the Koopalings as a whole, and Wonder is easily their best showing yet. Now, picking the worst thing about this game was pretty difficult. There's not really much to complain about with this expansion. It's the best Switch 2 edition for a reason. But if I had to pick something, I'd say the worst part about Meetup in Bellabel Park is the co-op Luma. I don't love that this is my pick, not just because it makes me sound extremely pretentious, but also I do genuinely find Luma very funny. I mean, look how easily you can cheese these bosses. This is good content. But ironic enjoyment aside, what human on this earth genuinely thought playing Yoshi or Nabbit felt as hard as Silk Song? I know people had problems with Base Wonder's easy mode characters. I always thought that was overblown, and I'd even say Luma is pretty inoffensive, but I just find the addition of an extra easy mode character to be strange. Not a feature I dislike, just one I find unnecessary.
I don't care about gummies!
Grass is green, the sky is blue, and the best part about Kirby Air Riders is City Trial. I honestly haven't played that much of original Air Ride, but City Trial was definitely the highlight there too. And I also enjoyed Smash Run, which is basically just City Trial and Smash. So it's no surprise I love City Trial here too. Driving around in a city for 5 minutes, finding the best machine, getting as many buffs as you can, playing a minigame at the end, with random effects happening each time, it's a system that just can't be beat. But now it has 16 players, an online mode, more legendary machines, and a playable boss? Easiest choice all video. Though on the topic of easy choices, the worst part of Air Riders is also pretty clear. It's the fact that Sakurai wasted his time creating this long-awaited passion project instead of making a new Smash game with Minecraft Steve nerfed into the ground. Okay, jokes aside, the actual worst thing in this game is Nebula Belt. I'd love to go into detail and thoroughly explain why it sucks, but what even is there to say? You sure do go straight in a very linear path. There are turns sometimes. Ooh, there's a ramp here. Daring today, aren't we? The visuals are cool, but this isn't even the only space track in Air Riders. And remind me, what does the other space track have going for it? Yeah, Nebula Belt sucks.
She can violate my rights.
The best part about Pokémon Legends Z-A is the fact that I got 2 shinies within the first few hours of my playthrough. I should have bought a lottery ticket. Okay, jokes aside, despite all the new things this game does to change up the Pokemon formula, my favorite part of Legends Z-A is just seeing all the new Mega Evolutions. Pokemon has found other ways to breathe new life into old Pokemon, and those are all great. But let's be honest, there was always something special about Mega Evolutions, and it feels like Game Freak was trying to make up for this mechanic's 11-year absence, because wow did they go crazy. So many awesome, creative, and funny designs here. Even some of the more controversial ones I really love. Like, come on, how could you hate Mega Starmie? Seeing new Megas would have likely been my favorite part of this game no matter what, but if there's one thing that makes ZA's Megas in particular stand out, it's how hard they pandered to specifically me. My first ever starter got a Mega, my favorite Scrimblows from the last 2 generations got a Mega, my favorite Pokemon of all time got a second Mega, and my favorite region, Unova, got more new Megas than any other region other than Kalos. After only having 1 Mega before, this is such a good redemption. Now for the worst thing about ZA, I could easily say it's a lack of voice acting, or the poor visuals, or something else that's plagued the Pokemon series for a while now. But even if that may be the correct answer, it's also the boring answer. So instead of beating a dead horse, I want to see what ZA specifically does wrong. And for that, I chose the lack of any movement option that's faster than running, which I think is a first for the Pokemon series. Did Game Freak just forget? The standard running speed doesn't feel awful, but Lumiose is a big city, and I'd really appreciate if I could explore it at a faster rate. I would have been fine with something standard like a bike or a rideable Pokemon, but my preferred option would have honestly been the roller skates. This is an X and Y sequel after all, so this would have been the perfect time to bring them back, but they didn't. You could argue this is a fairly minor complaint, but this is something that affects nearly every moment of gameplay, so it was the obvious answer to me.
Hey, Meta Knight, how's it going?
Very badly.
The best part of Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Star-Crossed World? Well, it isn't the title, I'll tell you that much. I adore Forgotten Land, but I was initially disappointed that we were just getting a simple expansion of this game. I was just really looking forward to seeing a new 3D Kirby, and I knew a Switch 2 edition couldn't expand upon the formula as much as I would have liked. Though there is one thing this expansion did that a brand new game likely wouldn't do, and that's give us new mouthful modes, which to me is the best part of Star-Crossed World. Though I weirdly don't have a lot to say about these. The sign mouth segments are super fun, the gear mouth is really interesting and creative, and the spring mouth is easily my favorite of the 3. I love the crazy jump height it provides, while also controlling a lot smoother than something like Spring Mario or Snake Bananza. Honestly, all 3 of these are among my favorite mouthful modes. Again, I don't have a lot to say about them, I'm just glad to see one of the best gimmicks in modern Kirby have one last hurrah before it gets replaced by like, I don't know, buff Kirby. As for the worst thing about Star-Crossed World, it's gotta be the lack of new bosses. I was really excited to see what new bosses they'd add, since the bosses are one of my favorite parts of this franchise. But we only got 2 new fights, excluding the mini-bosses, which I do. First, there's the final boss of Star-Crossed World, named... I already made a joke about long names, I'm not doing it again. This is a really cool final boss. I don't think I like it as much as basically every other final boss from Return to Dreamland onwards, but that says more about how high the bar is for Kirby final bosses, especially with base Forgotten Land giving us Elphalus. And that leads us to the second new Star-Crossed World fight, an even harder version of Elphalus. This is easily one of my favorite bosses in the entire series. So why is it the worst part about this game? I don't know, maybe it's because Return to Dreamland Deluxe gave us 7 new fights, but I was really itching to see a bunch of new bosses here, and we only got 2. I mean, I guess the Ultimate Cup Z bosses got slightly updated movesets, but it's not enough. Adding even one more boss from a previous game in the middle of this adventure would have gone a long way. Okay, maybe not you. I guess you could say this is quality over quantity, but when both bosses are so similar to a base game fight, it's just not the most exciting lineup in practice.
Twitter stinks. I'm leaving.
I've gotta be honest, guys. I got nothing for Jamboree TV. I guess my favorite thing is the frenzy rules. Even a 10-turn Jamboree game genuinely takes forever, so I really appreciate the option to do a 5-turn game. Why aren't there any new boards? We've been asking for DLC boards for all 3 Switch Mario Party games. We didn't get any DLC for the first 2, and the DLC for this one is just some stupid side modes that nobody cares about. Sure, unlike the first 2, Jamboree isn't exactly lacking in boards, but Smash Ultimate isn't exactly lacking in characters, yet characters are still the most sensible extra content to add post-launch. That's how I feel about boards in Mario Party, so what gives? I mean, at least we got tag team rules, I guess.
I'd shower you with coconut cream pies.
friends. The best part of Donkey Kong Bonanza is the long-awaited return of King K. Rool. Part of me feels bad for not picking any of Bonanza's new creative ideas and instead picking the thing that just makes me go, OMG, it's the Mario baseball guy! But like, come on. Not only did they capture all the old stuff we loved about him perfectly, from his personality to the fake-out credits, but they also evolved him in ways only this game could. His first new form looked awesome already, but his Bonanza form is even crazier, and the boss fights against both were easily the best in the game. And it's not even just the fights I'm praising. I loved the whole final layer with all the classic enemies. Critter going had me popping off like it was a Smash trailer. And the whole New Donk City portion, that was one of the sickest moments in any Nintendo game. This was the perfect way to bring back this icon. Now the worst thing about Bonanza? How can I play this roguelike mode? It's not an indie deck builder. Look, as someone whose only other roguelike experience is the Kirby Fighters 2 story mode, I've gotta say that Emerald Rush is no Kirby Fighters 2 story mode. It's just boring. The gameplay is repetitive, it lasts for way too long, and it just hasn't given me any reason to continually revisit Bonanza. This expansion does give us DK Island as a new layer, and while it's neat, aside from Emerald Rush, there's nothing to do here. Even Mushroom Kingdom from Odyssey had more content to offer. By a lot. What a mediocre update. Now before we get to our final game, let's go over all the Switch 2 games I haven't played and see what their best and worst qualities are according to my friends. If you disagree with any of these, I'm just the messenger here, please don't kill me. Best, discovering the secrets and stage interactions. Worst, it's held back by being more catered towards kids than other Nintendo games. Best, literally everything. Worst, Palo-san is not in it. Okay, is that really the best you've got? Best, the improved performance. Worst, the AI upscaling making the game look worse than on Switch 1. Thanks AI. Best, the rackets. Worst, the single player is too short. Best, the quality of life features. Worst, why would you ever play New Horizons when Pokopia is right there? I think one of my friends really liked Pokopia. Best, the bosses and the soundtrack. Worst, the desert. Best, the story. Worst, the ending. Best, the unique control scheme. Worst, said control scheme will give you hand cramps really fast. Best, learning about Nintendo history. Worst, some of the minigames have really dumb 3-star requirements. And finally, best, the improved performance. Worst, they didn't update the Switch shirt to be a Switch 2 shirt instead. What an absolute ripoff.
Look how much longer it takes to select Wario.
Very fitting that the last game we cover is the most divisive launch title for any Nintendo console, Mario Kart World. Or at least I think it is. For all I know, Pilotwings Resort could be even more controversial. There are so many contenders for both the best and worst thing about this game. Starting with the best, I absolutely adore the wacky roster, especially Fishbone. A lot of the new tracks are great, a lot of the retro tracks are great, Knockout Tour is fun, the soundtrack is a lot. But if I have to pick one thing, I'd say the best part about Mario Kart World are the controls. Mario Kart 8 controlled well, but man, after 11 years of that being the newest Mario Kart, shut up! That engine got really tiring for me. Thankfully, World was the exact kind of change I needed. Rail grinding is easily the star of the show here. It feels unbelievably satisfying to do. Riding on walls is similarly satisfying. And bringing back the feather from Super Mario Kart to complement this mechanic was such an inspired choice. Riding on top of water isn't as game-changing, but it's still pretty cool and leads to some awesome set pieces. What is game-changing, however, is being able to mushroom through lava. This better be a series staple. You can even constantly spam trick while in the air now, which doesn't really impact gameplay, but still feels pretty satisfying. I know this game's content doesn't compare to 8 Deluxes, but the moment-to-moment gameplay honestly hasn't been this fun for me since Mario Kart Wii. Now we just need this combo back and the game will be perfect. Now the worst thing about this game is weird. I really want to say Kamek since unlocking all the characters with him still gives me war flashbacks. However, updates made this item way more common, along with adding alternative unlock methods and custom items. Also, I'll be real, Kamek only races are extremely funny. So congratulations Kamek for no longer being the worst thing about Mario Kart World. Let's talk about Desert Hills instead. Look, even as someone who grew up with DS and Wii, this has never been a standout track. But I honestly was open to the idea of getting an improved version of it. And when the game came out, I did see it as an improvement. That opinion didn't last, however, as not only does it choose to reference the inferior game, but also What happened to the hills? That was one of the few interesting parts of the track. What's with these Desert Course remakes removing their track's namesake? Why do I have 2 nickels? They even removed other interesting parts of the original, like the Pyramid Shortcut and the Angry Sun's Fire. Why? There's been a lot of boring deserts in this series, but even among all those, this just sucks. Heck, when I played Grand Prix for the first time, I distinctly remember having more fun on the intermission after Desert Hills than Desert Hills itself. That should say it all right there. Desert Hills is not only the worst track in the game, but also the worst part of Mario Kart World. Here's to hoping the DLC tracks won't have anything worse than this. Also, here's to hoping we'll even get DLC tracks in the first place. Like, it's been over a year. This game still has less tracks than Mario Kart DS. What are we doing? And those were the best and worst parts of every Switch 2 game. In me and my friends' opinions, of course. If you disagree with any of our picks, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. And make sure to like and subscribe while you're down there for more Nintendo content. Thank you all for watching, and Estelle for Smash.